Hey there, this is Tina with Content Creators Club. I'm super excited to do this deep dive. But before we go ahead and get started, make sure if you're watching this on YouTube to grab the freebie in the description below. If you are watching this via my newsletter, make sure you click the button below to see a little bit more details on how we can help you as a creator. So, with that being said, I'd like to kind of do this deep dive on, how I pivoted to a profitable creator business, even though my business coach told me at the time that I was failing. And I want to make super clear that I'm not a believer in call out culture. I don't think it's helpful, and I feel like it's more damaging than it ever really is helpful. So I want to be clear, this is not call out whatsoever, but it is a way for me to share my experience and to share my learnings, and more importantly to show you like maybe how you don't want to be in a situation that I was in, right? And so it is kind of like going down a trip of memory lane, and it's not a great memory, but I think it's good to kind of give insights to, right? And so it does feel like it was yesterday, even though years has passed. But, you know, one of the things I would say is that when you are in a coaching situation, you usually have the teacher and then you have the student, right? You hire a teacher for a specific purpose. And so it's great to hire a teacher for a specific topic, a subject matter expert, but there is a difference between being an expert for the person that you hired versus being an expert on yourself. Now, hear me out. When I say an expert on yourself, is that it's great to hire a coach to have help, but it's really important that you are an expert on yourself and how you do and do not like to be treated in terms of setting boundaries, right? And sometimes I feel like the coaching culture can be a little bit too much in the sense of boundaries are not really as respected in kind of the industry that sometimes coaching can be on. It's also one of the reasons why I decided to leave, because I didn't want to be part of it anymore. And so, I think it's really important to kind of shed light on this experience where, like, I was setting a boundary with my coach at the time, and I didn't want to be spoken to a certain way. I brought attention to the situation at hand, and long story short, it didn't go as planned. And while I was hoping to be met with empathy, I got met with, you know, being gaslighted. And so it was a tough situation. And so I think, oftentimes when you're in those situations, you don't really know that you're being gaslit until the situation has already happened. And so, during that experience, I kind of thought to myself, like, maybe it was my fault that I was burnt out. Maybe I didn't listen to the strategies close enough, or maybe I'm just truly not cut out for business. And so it's in those moments when you really question why the hell are you doing what you're doing, that it can definitely suck, but it can also be very rewarding in terms of it allows you to pivot. It allows you to decide, hey, maybe I'm questioning myself because I don't like the situation I'm in right now and I need to make a change. And so, as much as those situations suck, like they really do, in this case, I had a bad experience with a coach, it did suck. It did teach me that I need to do things differently, in the sense that, like, I don't ever want to be a coach like that. And I definitely don't ever want to create that environment to my future students, right? And so, this is, again, not call out culture, but just really shedding light that, like, not every coach is the great coach, and you are an expert on yourself. You are an expert on yourself, and you definitely can stand up, and you should stand up when you're in situations like this. But the thing that I would say is that being an expert on yourself also starts with being an expert on your non-negotiables. And oftentimes I don't feel like people even take the time to consider what they don't want in life, right? A lot of people want a lot of different things, but the list of what you don't want might be very few, but most people don't take the time to figure out what that list is. And I think it's really important, even more important, to identify what is it that you don't want versus what is it that you do want, right? And so for me, when I decided to make the pivot to this now profitable creator business, like 3 4 years ago, it was not profitable. I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing. Like, it was really hard. And some people would say, oh, I left coaching because I couldn't make it. And maybe that was how I was negative, bad talking to myself at the time. But what sat with me was like, hey, something needs to change. Something needs to be different. And while I love coaching from the perspective of actually changing people's lives for the better, I do not love, sales calls. I don't love managing large teams. And I don't really love the concept of client cash ejections, right? Like a lot of, I see this a lot in like the coaching, maybe agency space where it's like, oh, you signed two clients at 10K, great, you hit a 20K month. And while those situations did occur, like it just didn't feel like it was sustainable in the sense of like having a booked out calendar, always chasing for the new client, trying to bring in cash in the business. It's not fun, especially if you're not having fun in life, right? And so I decided that if I'm going to make this pivot, I don't want any of those things. I don't want the large team, the sales calls, the client cash injections. I actually prefer, and I now have daily passive income where it doesn't matter what time of day, because I work with adults, not children. When I say adults, I say that jokingly, but like I work with people who want to work with me and they come to me when is the right time for them, right? And so it could be at 2 o'clock in the morning while I'm sleeping or 5 o'clock at night, right? And so what that is creating opportunities for daily passive income so that you could get paid at any time of day, even if your time's not being involved, right? I only want one virtual assistant. I love my virtual assistant. She's great. And so she's super helpful. And I'm good with a one person team, right? And so another one is I really want an empty as fuck Google Calendar. Like I don't like having a booked calendar. Definitely thought it was like a dream to have a booked out calendar because that means I have back to back sales calls, back to back sales opportunities, but it is definitely a nightmare for me and I just don't want it anymore, right? And so this is where I think it's important of if you are going to make that pivot, like the way that you make it is identifying your non-negotiables, but also you're identifying like your like fuck this list in the sense of like fuck it, like I don't want to do this anymore. Like that's the list that I want you to create. And creating those non-negotiables, the fuck this list, like will help you in the long term because it helps you decide like how to build a business that works for your lifestyle, right? Like if you don't want sales calls, then you need to figure out the revenue streams that allows you to still bring in that same level of income without relying on sales calls, right? It allows you to create creativity out of the boundaries that you have set for yourself. And I think a lot of people need to actually start thinking about that. And when you think about that, you will build a business that is uniquely yours and that feels really good for you, right? And so that's pretty much my deep dive on how I made the pivot to a profitable creator business, going through that experience and now getting to the place that I'm at now. Started with the non-negotiables. So definitely let me know if you're watching this on YouTube, like what is your fuck this list, in the sense that like what is it that you no longer want to have in your business. Even on email, if you're getting this via my newsletter, definitely feel free to reply back to me, and let me know what your non-negotiables are. Love to hear that and love to talk about it with you. And then if you don't already know, I actually have released my Collab Monthly membership where basically I send one email a month for you for all the collaborations that you could sign up for within the month. And these are opportunities that have allowed me to create daily traffic, automate my traffic, and also create daily passive income because traffic are going directly to my offers without relying on ads or social media. So definitely feel free to check that out. And I'll see you in the next deep dive. Bye.